Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the legal nuts and bolts of building in Romania. We're talking about the Works Contract, the absolute foundation of any construction project here. If you're looking to build in this country, trust me, this isn't just good-to-know info, it's essential.
So, you're an international developer, and you're looking at the Romanian market. Smart move. The opportunities are massive. But, and it's a big but, so are the risks if you go in blind to the local legal landscape. Knowing the rules isn't just good practice, it's what will make or break your project. At the very heart of it all is a document called the Contract d'entreprise. You'll hear us call it the Works Contract. This is the legal blueprint that defines the entire relationship between the person paying for the project, the beneficiary, and the contractor doing the work, the entrepreneur. It is, without a doubt, the single most important document you'll deal with. Okay, let's start by unpacking that legal blueprint. It helps to think of it like this. Your contract is the architectural plan for your project's legal and financial structure. But, and this is key, Romanian law itself, that's the mandatory building code. You can't ignore it.
You know, it's so easy to see a contract as just paperwork, a formality. But that's a huge mistake. In reality, it's your main tool for running the whole show. A good contract nails down the scope of work, locks in the payment terms, and, most critically, decides who carries the risk. And believe me, when a disagreement pops up, this is the first and last place everyone will look.
Right, this brings us to our first major decision point, what I call checkpoint 1, picking the right contract structure. This isn't just a technical choice, it's a strategic one that's going to shape your project's risk profile from the very beginning. Let's break down the main options. First, you've got the traditional model, where the contractor just builds what you've already designed. Then there's design and build, where one company handles everything, which gives you a single point of contact. And for the really big stuff, you have EPC or turnkey contracts, which shifts almost all the risk onto the contractor. The right one for you? Well, it all comes down to how complex your project is and how much control you want to have. The FIDIC question. I get this one all the time from international clients. And yes, FIDIC contracts are very common here, so they provide a familiar framework. But here's the thing you have to remember. FIDIC is not the law in Romania. It's a template. It only works if it doesn't contradict the mandatory parts of Romanian law. So don't even think about a simple copy-paste job. These forms almost always need to be changed, sometimes a lot, especially on public projects. And that leads us perfectly to checkpoint 2, the non-negotiables. You see, while Romanian law gives you a lot of freedom to agree on terms in your contract, that freedom has limits. There's a rigid legal framework that you simply cannot contract your way out of. And what does that framework look like? Well, it's a whole web of regulations. We're talking about everything from city planning rules and building permits to very specific technical and safety standards, not to mention environmental laws. A misstep in any of these areas can lead to huge fines or, even worse, a full stop work order.
Now, if you're going after a public state-funded project, things get even stricter. You have to run what I like to call the Public Procurement Gauntlet. This law, which comes from EU directives, really ties your hands. Some of the most important terms are completely non-negotiable. Performance guarantees are a must, and trying to change the contract after you've signed it, it's incredibly difficult. The rulebook is just different.
Let's be realistic. On any big construction project, problems are going to come up. It's just a fact of life. So our third checkpoint is all about being smart and planning for those problems right from the start, inside the contract itself. So what are the usual suspects when it comes to disputes? Well, this chart tells the story. Look at that. Payment delays and arguments over scope changes make up a massive 65% of all disagreements. That's huge. So the takeaway here is pretty simple. You need to have ironclad clauses in your contract that spell out exactly how payments work and how changes are managed. It'll save you so many headaches later on.
Now, if things do go south and a dispute blows up, you have to pick your battleground. You could go through the Romanian public courts, but that can be a pretty slow journey, and you might get a judge who isn't a construction expert. The other option is arbitration. It's private, it's usually faster, and you get to pick arbitrators who actually know the industry. For any international company, this choice is a really big deal. And here's why it's such a big deal, especially for foreign investors. Romania is part of the New York Convention. What does that mean? It means if you win an arbitration case in another member country, that decision is recognized and can be enforced right here in Romania. This is a massive safety net. It gives your legal wins real teeth.
All right, let's wrap this all up with a final check. The goal is simple. Make sure your contract, the very foundation of your project, is perfectly in sync with the realities of Romanian law. So here it is, the expert's final checklist. First, pick a contract that actually fits your risk tolerance. Second, always adapt standard forms like FIDIC to Romanian law. Third, if it's a public project, follow those procurement rules religiously. Fourth, get super specific on your payment and liability clauses. And finally, figure out your dispute strategy before you sign, and for goodness sake, get a specialized lawyer involved from day one.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought for your next project here. Your contract isn't just a piece of paper. It is the foundation your entire project is built on. So the question you need to ask yourself is your foundation built on solid ground?